Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you a 4 vs 4 on Odon, and in this one I'm going to be using the 101st Airborne. I'm going to be playing with Val, Kalazaz and Scholarpax, who are using the 3rd Canadian Infantry, 15th Infantry Scots and 2nd Armoured French Divisions. Then I'm playing against Cora, Dehetze, Faceless Shadow and Morning. Unfortunately these names aren't as exciting as previously, but they are going to be playing the 352nd, 3rd VulcanHDGaming, 12th SS Panzer and 716th Infantry respectively. So in this game it was all about me really trying out a strategy that I wanted to look into for a while. I've kind of stepped away from using the 101st for a little while just because I put up so many videos of using them while I was away. But coming back to them, I really wanted to get a Recon plane onto the field and see how much damage I could do if I was using one, and whether or not it's viable. Now personally I think it's very viable for certain divisions that do naturally maintain air superiority, so for example the 3rd VulcanHDGaming and the 101st Airborne, because they are airborne divisions, and therefore they have a lot of fighters that are very strong, and therefore you can keep your recon plane in the sky, and you can also use the good like bombers and rocket planes that you get to target things that you spot. So that works out quite nicely. So as you can see, I'm going to be taking the far right on this one. I'm going to be pushing for this town. Val's going to be pushing for the town to my left, and then we're going to be having the 2 randoms on our team, Scholarpax and Kalazaz, on the left side. This was kind of a random game. I just set it up as a 4v4 and invited all these people to play with me, because normally I would set it up as like a 2v2 for example, and it would just be me and Val. But I think it's a lot more fun when you have a few unknown variables on your team, because when you sort of make a lobby you don't know the skill of the people you're playing against, so it's good to just have a couple of people who you aren't necessarily relying on throughout the game. Either way, let's have a quick look at sort of my setup going into this one. It was quite infantry based. Had the pathfinders at the front, engineers, I've got the command infantry of course, airborne rifles, got a mortar as well. Mortar's just going to smoke this town and allow me to get some engineers into there, that's the plan at least. Now my engineers took a little while to get up. I did also have a few points left over when the game started because, as usual, somebody clicked the start button very quickly, so I didn't get a chance to get all my points down, and as you can see I'm choosing where to bring things in. Let's have a look at where my units are currently deploying though. So I've got a couple of unloaded position on the right side. I've also got a fast move over there as well. A lot of these were adjusting as I was going because I wasn't entirely sure how quickly they would get to this town. Other way, let's jump to my point of view. You're going to see me drop out the mortar and start firing the smoke rounds as soon as I can. M3 guns being dropped off just to shoot anything that comes up the road, and I've also got my command infantry here racing up. I've got 1 unit of engineers pushing up to the town, and this unit of pathfinders, I should have unloaded them and had them moving up, because as you can see the unloader position order was completely dodgy.
What's up, sir?
This M3 gun's moving through the tree line just to cover the right side road, and I've also got a few units of infantry there, and then basically a few units of infantry on the left side as well. So it's quite simply just recon with a line infantry unit and an airborne leader. So smoke's allowed my airborne engineers to get into position. I'm going to be trying to burn out the Panzergrenadier where I can, and take on the spear troop that are there as well. Using the smoke as cover here just to get around this building. The building that they are next to is on fire, so I can't actually get into that. I end up bumping into some Panzergrenadiers that were hit by my preliminary mortar fire. So I'm going to be right on top of those guys, and I'm going to try and jump into this building to try and get the jump onto these Panzergrenadier and the spear troop. And meanwhile, I'm going to be bringing up the 50 cal here and my pathfinders. Pathfinders should be pretty decent there. Airborne engineers have a go at killing the half track, but run out almost of napalm. So got to be a little bit careful about that engagement. Pathfinders find the spear troop in the chateau there, and the 50 cal is going to start hitting this half track very hard, and does actually manage to kill it off, which is nice. So on this right side, nothing too much over here. So as you can see, the front line's pushed on this side. We've also managed to get across the river here, so Val and myself are giving us the +1. Over on this far left side as well, Scolopax has managed to push his front line up. So in general, across the map, 54% territory lead in our favour. Airborne rifles have come up to the town to take on the Panzergrens and the Panzergrenführer. Panzergrenführer actually take the building instead of the Panzergrenadiers, which actually means that the Panzergrenadiers take a lot more damage than they probably should have. Now a mortar comes in with the smoke there just to allow my reinforcements to come up. Ideally I should have let the airborne rifles continue to fire on the Panzergrenadiers, but I really wanted to get these airborne engineers into a decent position. So as you can see, I'm moving them up here. Got some airborne rifles there as well, and I'm going to actually drop the airborne air rifles into the building just to pin down the Panzergrens and force them to surrender, or just kill them off there. That's pretty much just going to win me this town. And my airborne engineers did bump into 2 units of Panzergrenadiers and a Panzergrenführer on this left side. They are going to be forced to retreat for now. Just going to run them across the open. I've got to be careful of my mortar as well. Going to be getting these airborne rifles to run to the left side to engage the Panzergrenadiers at close range, because at close range they do have 11 HE power, which is a lot stronger than the Panzergrenadiers 5. I've got some mortar fire coming in onto my mortar. Finally get rid of the Panzergrenführer in the town. Now we're going to be seeing my engineers engage the 259. There's also a Boy to Firefly here. I'm not entirely sure why my opponent bought a Boy to Firefly in this case, because generally when you're fighting into a town or this forest sort of area, you don't want a Firefly that's can't target infantry. It just doesn't really make sense. This Boy to Firefly wasn't doing too much throughout the game, but here you can see finally the engagement between the airborne rifles and the Panzergrenadiers. A second 259 goes down to my airborne engineers. They use the napalm to burn them out. As you can see, these units, because they're open top, can be hit by the napalm pretty damn hard. Mortar's going to be coming in with the fire here. HE rounds on target to try and knock out the Panzergrenadiers, but I'm going to be taking fire from their mortar, so that fire is going to be disappearing. Still had the airborne leader to stop these guys from surrendering, so that was okay. And now this Panzergren's targeting the airborne engineers, so that allows me to get up behind them with these airborne engineers and engage the Panzergrenadiers from behind. On this right side, just making the most of not having anything to contest me. Pushing forwards the airborne rifles with the command infantry and the recon there. And now I'm starting to bring up some more of my reinforcements. I've got a couple more mortars on the way. I've got some more infantry. I was floating quite a lot of points because I was concentrating on my initial engagement so much. But now I'm finally getting that reinforcements up. There is a couple of AT guns on the way, because I am against the 12th SS Panzer player on this side. So I have to be aware that there is going to be a lot more half-tracks on the way, as well as those support vehicles like the 259. So an AT gun or two won't go amiss. Panzergrenführer managed to surrender my airborne rifles as they run out of range of my airborne leader, unfortunately, but Panzergrenführer eventually go down there to the surrender. And that's going to allow these airborne rifles to come across and help clean out the spear troop. 50 cals busy engaging the Panzergrenadiers, and having these 50 cals engaging not only the half-tracks but also the infantry here was doing a lot of damage throughout the game, which was really nice. So far overall, been a pretty simple game. I've been given this far right side quite nicely, and my opponent is trying to push into this town, which is very easy for me to defend with the napalm, with the 50 cals and so on. Especially when he's invested so many points in the Firefly. He is going to be bringing up a Boy to Cromwell, which is a decent move. It will do a lot of damage to my infantry, Just got to make sure that he pushes properly with them. So I brought up a second 50 cal here. Not going to be too scared of dropping it off in front of the Boy to Firefly. If I didn't drop them off, then I would get hit by the main gun, but with it only having a 30 cal, I'm actually able to just run the 50 cal across the road there and get them into cover. So my new mortars have arrived. We've cleaned out this compound with the spear troop, and we're going to be pushing forwards these engineers. M3 gun took a shot at the Boy to Firefly, gets one shot by the opposing mortar. Direct hit there did the job. And that was game over for the M3 gun before it even knew it. By the way, pretty controlled on my right side. Val's doing a decent job of pushing through these trees. He's got his rifles engaging some VulcanHDGaming. He's got that to worry about. But he's making good use of these wasps in the town to take on the grenadiers that don't have any AT. Going to be seeing him come in with the Spitfire Mark 9 there to try and bomb out some of those VulcanHDGs, and then he can run them down with the rifles possibly. So over on this right side, M3 gun's going to be hitting the 251. Got a M3 gun in the middle of the town now that's going to be engaging the Boy to Firefly. This is 2 stars, so it's going to reload very quickly and be relatively accurate. At this sort of range, we're talking about 11, 12 AP value. Eventually, I break the tracks, but that's working on about a 16% penetration chance at the moment. So just got to keep firing at the Firefly. Now it's got tracks broken and falling back. Got a good chance of killing it, so just going to let the M3 gun keep firing. And goodbye to the Boy to Firefly that did pretty much nothing throughout this game so far. So we're winning pretty convincingly, of course, at this point, due to the front line being so much in our favour. There is a little bit of a gap between myself and Val, but it wasn't too much to worry about. Going to be bringing up some reinforcements just to make sure that I can reinforce my position. And I'm going to be constantly pushed by the 12th SS Panzer player now. So just got the MGs into position, have my mortars in position, have AT guns in position, and we should be okay. But as you can see, now going to buy in the Grasshopper and a couple of Mustangs. Saved up the cash so that I had enough to support the Grasshopper. I was hoping to buy a ground attack aircraft alongside a Mustang, but it turns out I had to buy a second Mustang because they brought out a fighter. So we are just going to pick that off. Grasshopper's going to make its way towards the front line, and we'll see what we're up against here. Now, of course, I do have some pretty good recon here. I've got 4 units of ground recon, spotting all that's coming towards me, including these spear troop, and that's going to allow the airborne rifles there to engage those. On this left side, I've managed to take care of the Osttroopen thanks to the P-51s pinning them down, and the airborne rifles just running up to them and forcing them to surrender. This has also got rid of the little gap that we had in our line. But here comes the Grasshopper. That's just going to take a lovely jaunt over the enemy lines. I bring in an ME-109 to try and shoot it down, but I've still got my 2 Mustangs hanging about. So, nice little bit of bait there from the Grasshopper. And they are going to bring in the ME-109 to try and shoot it down. But it's totally worth for me if I can get the kill. And my Mustang, just before it comes round onto the gun run onto the Grasshopper, does manage to force them to fall back, and Mustang gets on its tail, ME-109 goes down. Fantastic. There's also 2 Ju-87s being brought in to take out Val's Ram 2s and Wasps here. So I managed to shoot down one of those with the P-51s, and now I'm coming in with this Thunderbolt to hit the second Ju-87. I'm going to be shooting that down as well. Now my bombing strike from that Thunderbolt came in on top of the Boy to Cromwell and a couple of half-tracks. That was quite simply due to the Grasshopper that I had. So the whole idea of me showing you guys this game wasn't just to show a win necessarily. It was just to show like the use of a Recon aircraft. Now I found that Recon aircraft do bait enemy fighters to come in quite often. So if, for example, if you flew a slow grasshopper over like an area, a town, wherever, most likely the opponents are going to respond with a fighter. If you have two of your own fighters and you instantly outnumber them, you can definitely use that to bait and shoot down opposing fighters. So that's something that I think is a really nice thing to discuss in this game. Furthermore, Recon aircraft in general, I think, especially in the divisions that can maintain air support, like I said at the start of the game, they can make good use of it with their ground attack aircraft. So being able to bring in my Thunderbolt and get precise strikes was really good. Over on this left side, I made a little sneaky move of using some smoke on this little choke here, which forced them to move forwards with their units, the 259 and also the bike there coming through the smoke, and getting hit by this M3 gun. I'm going to be bringing in a P47 Thunderbolt. That's just going to be going for the shots onto the Cromwell. I really want to get rid of that because it has been doing a lot of damage. Here we're going to be seeing the Pathfinders finish off the Panzer Grenadiers with the help of the Airborne leader. There goes the Boyd's Cromwell, going to force that to fall back again. 63% territory lead though. So we're making a lot of ground on this right side. My teammates on the left side are pushing pretty hard as well. Scholar Pax using his tanks to try and move up, but is being hit by a mortar there, which is going to force him back for now. In the centre, 15th Scots also trying to push hard, but having troubles getting through those forests. On the right side, it's not so much of an issue. Just got to be wary of all of these vehicles that my opponent is using. So here comes the Grasshopper again. It's a really slow aircraft, and the great thing about these Recon aircraft is they do bait the enemy aircraft especially well because they are so slow.
Nothing's moving there anymore.
Which means that often fighters will overshoot their target. My Mustang's ready to go. Grasshopper's back in action. I knew that I'd had the P51 waiting, so if they bring in another fighter to try and shoot it down, I'm going to be in a good position to intercept said fighter. The M3 gun goes down to the Panzer IICs that are going to be moving up on the left side. Just going to be trying to smoke those off so they can't provide fire onto the 50 cal in the middle of the town. Also going to be putting smoke onto these roads. And what I'm going to be doing here is using some smoke to get my Pathfinders close, because I really want to take care of this Boiter Cromwell. Grasshopper's revealing all I need to see further back. And that's also going to allow me to reuse my Thunderbolts as they become available. So here goes the Pathfinder charging into the smoke. Airborne engineers are going to get covered off by the smoke there as well. First gammon bomb misses from that Pathfinder squad. Going to be going for the HE shells into the Panzer II. This Pathfinder's also going to just be running towards the Panzer IIs now. Just making a straight up charge. Wanting to get one of those gammon bombs on target, but misses. Panzer IIs are just going to destroy the Pathfinders and force them to surrender. These Pathfinders still running backwards and forwards, engaging the Boiter Firefly with their gammon bombs, and eventually I get that kill. Going to be seeing the M3 gun in the middle of the town take out one of the Panzer IIs, and all of these mortars are pinning down the infantry squad that was following them up. Pathfinders in these buildings are taking on the Panzer Grenadiers that were a little bit further up. You see there is 3 units of Pioneers now pushing onto my Airborne leader. M3 gun does go down to the Panzer II, which was a little bit of a problem, but I do have a new M1 gun on the way. Grasshopper is revealing this mortar for me alongside the Alpha Blitz munition. Same thing with my Pathfinders, honestly. I think they are in line of sight anyway. But the Grasshopper allows me to see the mortar even though it's behind the tree line, which is nice. They have brought up a verbal wind though, so I've got to be a little bit careful. Going to have to fly a bit further over my lines in order to keep using it.
Yes, sir.
So all my mortars getting resupplied here. Here comes the Strike P-47 Thunderbolt coming in with the multiple bombs. There's 3 bombs, 2 25 HE bombs. And look at this for a bombing strike. Perfecto. 1 bomb lands on the open munition, 2 bombs land on the mortar carrier, and we take them out. Mustangs also flying in to protect the skies while those airplanes are in play. So it worked out really nicely. And here we're going to be seeing multiple Pioneers try and take on my Pathfinder. Now I often tell people not to group units, and I'll show you guys very shortly as this Thunderbolt comes in with its 10 15 HE power rockets. Yeah, that's just rendered 3 squads of Pioneers completely ineffective. If they were spread out and they all hit the tree line at different locations, this wouldn't have happened. But because they were so bunched up, now what's going to happen is my full squad of airborne rifles is going to be able to run up to these Pioneers and continue to engage them. I'm going to continue to pin them down with the Mustangs. So Mustangs coming in with the 50 cals, and I'm targeting the squads that basically came off being pinned down. And that's going to allow my airborne rifles to just run up and force these guys to surrender. I'm not entirely sure if Faceless was aware of my airborne rifles running towards him, but he definitely should have tried to pull these back before that happened. P-51 Mustangs coming in to just make sure they continue to pin down. Just going to get that surrender as the Focke-Wulf 190G1 lands a 15 HE power bomb onto my airborne rifles there. Mustangs are very low on fuel, but so they're not going to get the kill onto the Focke-Wulf 190, which was unfortunate. But I've got more reinforcements arriving on this right side now just to hold things off. And well, after all that, my opponent surrenders. We are currently running a +3, and over on this far left side, Skolopax has broken through entirely, and so has Kalazaz, so that's worked out nicely. Val's taken his town and is using his assault Pioneers and rifles to take on Grenadiers still. I've made a small ambush on the road here. Osttropen and Pathfinders taking on an MG42. Or the airborne rifles and Pathfinders, sorry, taking on Osttropen and MG42. Panther D on the road, but that's not too much of a problem. Going to be bringing up some M10s, these are the 2-star M10s on their way. We're getting very close to the end of the game now with the +3 lead. You can see the conquest score is ticking up, and these Panthers aren't really going to play much of a part in this game. I do have an M1 gun waiting here to ambush anyway. As you can see here, M20 command on the right side. We're also going to see the Pathfinder actually blow up the Panther there as they drive towards them, which was pretty crazy. And on this road, 1 surrender there. Bazooka takes out the transport vehicle, forces the unit to surrender. Airborne rifles do get taken down, but Pathfinder's going to be hitting the Fusiliers very hard because Pathfinders are in cover and the Fusiliers are not. So the Befehl Panzer IV takes out the M20 command on the right side, but doesn't have line of sight to do too much more. And well, turns out to be a relatively simple game, but one that really allowed me to talk through some of the new strategies that I've been using with the 101st. And I feel like the 101st is such a good early game division, and it's made even better by the use of those tactics with the Recon planes moving into Phase B. Just trying to get this rifle to get the Zuka on target, but just before I can get that kill, game does end. And after 21 minutes and 53 seconds, myself, Val, Kalazaz and Skolopax are victorious. And great job to my team pulling that one off. Look at this kill death. I mean, Skolopax only lost 210. Kalazaz only lost 125. These are completely randoms. I Didn't choose these guys to be on my team, they just joined the game. Unfortunately, our opponents did get hit pretty damn hard in this one. If we jump over to the kills though, Airborne rifles and Airborne engineers getting plenty of kills as usual. P-51 Mustang shot down plenty. M3 gun took out a Boy to Firefly and a Panzer II. Again, another Mustang getting a couple of kills there. Does the job. And this Pathfinder unit, Binkowski, I guess. Boy to Cromwell and the Panther D charging into that smoke initially to get the Cromwell, and then with one of its gammon bombs left, takes out that Panther D. Lovely, lovely job. Pathfinder takes out Ostroop and MG42 and a Fusilier squad there on the road. And we even see the P-47 Thunderbolt come in here and take out those two units with its bombs. So that was a pretty successful game, pretty cut and dry. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.